We're live and we're recording.
Very good.
Are we streaming?
To check my
Okay, hi everyone. We are streaming. This is eLearnChat. Remember us? We were on for quite a few years, about 5-6 years actually. And so today will actually be show 156. So we're not starting from 1 again. We're starting from where we left off, which was 155. And just an interesting factor. We'll repeat this later on the show, but Bill Cushard is our guest today. And he was our very first guest when we started with Terrence Wing. He was number one guest. And today he is number one guest on our Phoenix show as we rebirth ourselves. We had actually killed the show last March, and then we've gotten a lot of requests for it back, and we decided to start over again. And with us also is Linda Joy. She will be co-hosting with us. And a special thanks to the people who have co-hosted in the past. We had Dawn Mahoney for about 2-3 years. She did a great job. And Colleen Sun Lee co-hosted for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so, maybe longer. She was co-hosting, Jean Franzblau, and of course our dear friend Terrence, who unfortunately is no longer with us from about 4 or 5 years ago already. It's a long time, but Terrence passed away, and we kept the show going. And it's been an interesting road, and we've always met good people. And Bill's one of those good people we've met, and we're just very happy to have him back on again. And we thought about it and looked, I go, wait a minute, Bill's on this show? And originally we were going to just do a show, Linda and I, today to kind of introduce Linda. And then Jacqueline said, no, he's on for today. I went, oh, well, that's a coincidence. And then we looked and went, wait a minute, he was the very first guest too. So I think it's all good. I think it's all just a good omen.
Absolutely.
It's great to be here. This is awesome. I'm glad to be back and to be numero uno once again.
Yeah,
cool.
and we're going to start the show recording in a minute. And with us is Linda Joy. Hi, Linda.
Hello.
Linda is a very well-known voiceover talent. She has been an actress, a coach, a mentor, has been involved in training in different ways throughout her life. And, her name, Linda, pretty, that's what it means. And joy, she does bring joy. So we've worked with Linda quite a bit throughout the years, and she's just a wonderful person. And gutsy. I asked her, hey, do you want to do a show? She said, in, I think, what was it, about a quarter of a second? Yes.
And then in brackets, what have I got
myself into? So.
No, I'm excited to be here. Always nice to start something new, something different, stretch your talents, and just discover new things.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about your background when we start the show. But I think we're ready. We can probably start the show.
Yeah.
If you want to switch to the Linda and my shot, so that'll be, I think, shot 9. We've got Jacqueline switching today, and she's learning how to switch on this particular show, so that'll be fun for her to kind of get into this.
Nice.
And Clark is backing up. Not that she'll be scared. She'll be good. She's fine. Yeah, right? You're good, right? Yep. She said yep. Total confidence. Okay. Anyway. All right, so we're going to start the show recording in 3, 2, and 1. Hi, everyone. I'm Rick Zanotti, and welcome back to eLearnChat, where talk is knowledge. And with us today, we've got our co-host, Linda Joy. Linda, how are you today?
I am doing great, Rick. Thank you.
Well, Linda is a voiceover talent. She's been an actress. She's actually been the voice of some famous cartoon characters, or not just cartoon characters, but also, what was Miss Piggy? She did the voice of Miss Piggy for a long time in Germany.
In German, yes, I'm Miss Piggy's German voice, but the cartoon Miss Piggy. So not the Muppet Miss Piggy. I already lived in the United States.
Ah, okay.
When I was supposed to start on her,
Yep.
So it was just not realistic anymore. But I did Baby Miss Piggy for 12 years.
Oh, funny. She does a lot of voices, the cartoons, the voiceover. She's been a coach, a voiceover coach, an acting coach. She's done a lot of different things in the arena. And I asked her, do you want to do a show? And she goes, yes. Oh, sure. And then in parentheses, she wrote back, what have I gotten into? But I think we'll have a very good time with Linda. And I always tell people, her name is Linda Joy. Linda, pretty. And joy, well, it speaks for itself. She brings a lot of joy to people. People who work with her love Linda, and everybody just thinks she's very easy and fun to work with. And we've worked with her on more than one occasion, and she's been very good to work with. And people always say, I know her voice from somewhere. So she brings that familiarity in. And Linda, today is our first show back. We are now show 156. We basically brought the show down. We took it down last March. We just felt we needed a change, and we just needed to kind of move on with the show. And a lot of people asked for us to bring it back. We've gotten a lot of emails throughout the last year and a half. And we decided, okay, let's bring it back. Let's have some fun with it again. And coincidentally, our guest today is Bill Cushard, who was the number one guest, the first guest we ever had back in the original eLearnChat. And really, by coincidence today, he wound up by a scheduling fluke being the very first guest again, and I think it's great. So let's play our intro, and then we'll start with the show. Here we go. And we're back.
Nice
Well, Linda, today
intro.
we've got with us Bill Cushard. Bill Cushard is a long-time training and learning specialist. He knows a lot about this field. He's a good friend. He's a good guy, and he's a pivoter. He has changed, but I don't know what he's actually pivoted to. He's going to talk about some of the changes he's gone through and where his life has taken him over the last 3 or 4 years. We've been on before, but you've had some changes since then. Bill, how are you?
Oh, I'm great, Rick and Linda. I am fabulous. How are you guys?
We are doing great, and it's
Doing
good to see you
great.
again.
Happy to have you on.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Keith Richards said, it's great to be here. It's great to be anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. And that's considering Keith Richards doesn't even know where he is half the time, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, for the younger people, Keith Richards, Rolling Stones. You'd be surprised.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. So what have you been up to? You went to Colorado. Last we talked, you were in Colorado, and you were doing, I think you were getting ready to do a dissertation. You were going for a PhD, but you were just telling us pre-show that it changed. You did something different. What have you been up to?
Yes, life comes at you fast. Well, when I was in Colorado, I was a training director for a software company in the mortgage due diligence business. And working on my PhD, I had my dissertation proposal approved. I mean, I was in it, and I was changing jobs. I started going from, basically I took a new job in a training role, but it's customer education. So instead of employee education, it's customer education in software companies. And I sort of wanted to be closer to the customer and closer to the revenue and doing that. And so the PhD in education seemed less important to where I wanted to head.
Yeah.
So I pivoted. I took a master's degree, which was very good. And, I'm headed towards, customer education at software companies is more about running a business than it is about educating people, even though you're doing both.
Right.
Because you're in many ways, you're contributing to the revenue and margin and growth of a software company by educating customers when they purchase software.
So what did you actually get a master's in for this one?
It's a master's of science in education, and the specialty is HPT. It's human performance technology. So that's the specialty.
That's great.
Nice.
So in that master's program and in your experience working with customers and working with just different people, what have you found that's different in dealing with, let's say, employees to dealing with customers?
In many ways, it is the same in the sense that someone needs to learn something, and then some learning experience needs to be created and delivered in whatever method to help customers learn what they have to learn. And in this case, an enterprise might be spending millions of dollars on software. So there are big stakes involved in terms of getting people to learn it. On the other hand, they are employees of your customer, and you are not involved in measuring individual performance. You are not involved in many ways, not really caring whether they learned or whether they attended, right? Even though you do care, but your job is to sell the training, produce the training, and help customers, complete the training. So your stakeholders are different. In customer education, your stakeholder is a software company, not managers of teams of people who are doing the learning. So that's how it's different.
So would you say a lot of this has to do with, there's always these buzzwords now. Now it's UX, which people have no idea what it really means. A lot of people think UX is the UI. And go, no, that's a UI, user interface.
Yes.
UX is the user experience. And that's where the customers come in, because when you're selling software or any product, it's not so much about the look of it as much as what's the total experience. The company experience, the sales experience, the experience when they get the product or when they open the product or when they launch it or log in. All of that creates the user experience. And it sounds like that's a lot of what you're looking at there, not only just having the customers learn something. Like you said, it's up to them if they learn or not, but it's also what's that experience for them, and how does that create trust and everything else for the client, for the software company that develops it, or whatever other kind of company.
Yeah, that's an important point, because if you imagine what is very common, an enterprise, some VP of something purchases this big fancy software program that everyone's going to use. We're rolling out this new software. It could be a CRM. It could be an open source build technology, whatever. We're rolling it out to everyone. Now, all these employees and teams didn't necessarily know this is coming. So now they're told, okay, use this new thing and go learn it. So from a learner experience, or the UI and the UX, like you described it, what is the experience of that student finding the training course, e-learning or live, whatever it is, registering for it, getting to it, taking it, completing it, and then also translating that into learning the actual software in their real day-to-day job. There's a lot of things going on there. There are journey steps that have to occur, and if it's not good, then just getting to it, for example, if that's not good, you're going to have an unsatisfied customer who might complain to their boss, who was a decision maker, VP of whatever department it is, and then they're going to call the software company and say, this is terrible, I can't even get my people in the course. And so it's a big deal. You have, there's money on the line, there are contracts on the line, and user experience is a big deal. It goes way beyond the learning objectives.
Yeah. So, Bill, you're playing also into the culture of the company.
Yes. In practical terms, probably not as much as you think.
Okay.
And we probably should do it more than we do, because it's, as an outsider, right? Because I'm coming in kind of like a consultant, right? As an outsider, it's difficult to get into the culture of the company and the change management aspect of it. What we are really good at is the technical implementation of the training, which is to say, not high-tech technical, but the process of, here's the course, here's the link, here's how you sign up, here are the coupon codes, here's the access code to get to the courses and the catalog, and here's the learning path you should take, and we're good at that part of it. But sometimes a customer wants help rolling it out. So there are things that we can do to make that easier, and it all comes down to the user experience. And every customer is a little different. They all do things a little bit differently in how they want to roll out training to their teams.
Yeah.
And so you have to sort of get involved in that.
Yes. I read that you also are able to mimic a little bit of your customers' branding so that it looks like not a third party is training, but it is the company, so that it all kind of is more coherent.
Yes. So at Service Rocket, we sell a learning management system,
Yes.
but it's not the same kind of learning management system that most VPs or chief learning officers would purchase for employee training, because our LMS, it becomes the customer, and the customer meaning the software company, it becomes part of their website.
Nice.
So that when employees
That's what
of
I
these customers look for the training or go to find it, they go to the software company's website, they click on the training tab, and then they see the catalog and they register for, pay for, find. It could be free, it could be a fee, and they access the course through the software company's website, even though it's our software running it.
Yes.
Right? We white label to it, and there isn't even any powered by Service Rocket on the bottom. It is designed to be the software company's website.
Nice.
So learners don't know it's us at all. They don't know
And
we
they
exist.
can
don't need to.
identify much better.
And that is also part of the user interface, but also part of the user experience, because if I'm an employee who needs to learn this new software that my company purchased, well, naturally, I would go to the company who sold us the software to learn how to use that software. So I go to that website.
So in this case, is the LMS specific to the product that they're selling, that you're selling, or is it an LMS that's a general LMS?
It is a general LMS.
Okay.
And so any company could purchase it and put it on their website and start training customers. We specialize and target enterprise software companies. So if an association called, the Association of Northeastern Dental Hygienists, wanted to build training for dental hygienists, they could purchase it and use it. But if they called us, we probably wouldn't understand what any of that meant.
Right.
I mean,
You'd have to drill.
right?
You'd have to drill down a bit into that, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Hey, that's funny.
You have to brush up on it a little bit.
Yeah. So, but we just happen to specialize in software companies.
That's good. That's good. Now,
Right.
I hear a lot in the LMS world that you have to have badges and leaderboards and all this. Are you guys addressing that? Does it matter? I mean, to me, it doesn't matter. I guess maybe I'm a little bit older. I just don't care if I get a badge. It's like it doesn't mean anything to me. Or being on a leaderboard, you're either good or you're not. But it's really important to a lot of people. In which case, a lot of LMSs are starting to build that in because companies feel that's a good way to motivate people.
Yep.
And it may be a very good way to motivate people. It gets them going. It's a little competitive, or they feel they're achieving something.
Yep.
Do you look at stuff like that? Is that something that you consider important?
Yes, it hasn't been a priority. We do hear it from customers and prospects. Two of our customers actually did something slightly different. They, when people achieve their certification in their software, they can they get a certificate, right? That's a credential of some kind of badge, I guess. But they can also click a button and say, add this to my LinkedIn profile.
Oh,
so
nice.
That's a different way of doing it, right? Because if you think about what a lot of these technologies are, many of them are fast-growing and emerging software technologies. And I can give you one example. There's a technology called Docker. It's an open source technology using containers and virtualization. But there's an interesting stat about this. In 2014, this was in VentureBeat. In 2014, there were less than 5,000 job descriptions with the word Docker in it. 12 months later, there were 54,000.
Oh my
All
God.
right. So that technology is in demand, kind of like Hadoop and big data and all that stuff. Data scientists that job is going crazy. It's very similar, and people want to show on their LinkedIn profile, I have this skill, and so they go to the Docker website or they go to the Cloudera website to learn Hadoop and data science, and they want to they want to show it off. Look, it's on my LinkedIn profile. I've got certified from this person, or certified from that software company. I'm credentialed to some extent. And so that's a way that our customers treat it, not so much the leaderboards and the badging.
Okay.
Because different customers are not really competing with each other.
Right.
You know, they're not. I mean, if GM purchases some data science technology and so does Arthur Daniels Midland, you know, there's not really a need to compete at the employee level in that sense. But the LinkedIn thing, that's different.
It's kind of a nice tie-in too, because more and more people are heading to LinkedIn. I do wonder at what point people are going to get fed up with Facebook and go to LinkedIn for professional stuff, and maybe even other, because LinkedIn seems to be expanding, and with Microsoft now owning them, it's going to be very interesting to see where that goes. I hope it stays professional and doesn't become like a teeny bopper thing. I mean, you never know, but.
Well, I think Snapchat will prevent that from happening, because they're all going to Snapchat, I guess.
Snapchat's the big one right now, right?
I guess, yes.
Yeah.
Do you guys Pokemon Go? That's the new thing.
Oh gosh.
Oh
no.
yes. Oh, I haven't even read up on that. I don't even.
And it's interesting because people are just jumping over people's fences. They're going anywhere just to find this Pokemon or whatever else. Pichuku? What was it? Pichuku?
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was called.
ETQ, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't get any of it.
Go Pokemon.
But I imagine this, you know, this augmented reality thing. Imagine the implications for learning. What if you could onboard people in a company and they had the same technology where they walk around the office and they discover things they need to learn how to do? Like those little Pokemon dudes.
Well, you know, in the old days, I remember when I first started working, you would always see one or two people walking around the office with a piece of paper in their hands and just walking around and not doing much, but they had the piece of paper in their hand, and that would be good. And so now I guess we're looking for Pokemon. It's like the piece of paper. You're not doing anything worthwhile, but you're looking for Pokemon.
That's right.
It's interesting. But you're right. That would be an interesting game for somebody new in an office to figure out how to get around the office, especially in big buildings or big campuses.
Sure.
It's hard enough to figure out where you are. We've got, up the hill from where we are, we've got Amgen, which is a large biotech company. I think they have over 50 buildings in just the city over us, which is Newbury Park. That's a lot of buildings, and they've got segways for the maintenance staff. They've got golf carts. They've got all sorts of stuff. But for the actual employee, they got to figure out how to walk from place to place or drive.
Oh yeah.
It's and you can't even walk from, so you have to literally drive to some of the places. Getting up there and getting in as a new employee, where do you go?
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No.
it's something. So that could see a good application for that kind of technology. Aren't they doing something similar to that in a lot of the trade shows, where now you have a trade show app, and then that app tells you have to do scavenger hunts, and also which gets people to go to different vendors and get information, and it's sort of interesting. It's kind of the same idea, and I guess people like it because every time I've been in a trade show, people always ask me, "Can I get a stamp?" Yeah. Where do you want it? Forehead? No. On my paper. Okay, got it.
Yes.
So interesting.
And they all have different functions. I think, you know, we started off with comparing Facebook to LinkedIn. They serve different purposes.
Mm-hmm. I'm not
They
sure
do,
what
but
purpose Facebook serves anymore, but that's just me. I find them irritating. You can't say what you can't say anything. If you don't happen to say anything they don't like, they just censor it. It's like, that's not right. I mean, I guess you can do that, but then change the rules a little bit. Let people know what you can and can't say, because there's a lot of things you can't say right now about anything.
And even marketing people, you think about the marketing people are all going bananas because the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the LinkedIns and Twitter, they're changing the algorithms of when things are shown. So, and you know, the cynic in me says they're specifically doing that to get brands to spend money on the sponsored updates to be shown instead of just showing up in the feed chronologically, and hopefully people will see your company and then click on your link and buy something from you.
That would make sense.
They totally control what is shown and to whom.
That's a good point. Now you've always been into social media and knew quite a bit about it. Do you think, and this is from a professional point of view, do you think, and maybe even not just professional, but just about anybody, do you think we've become just oversaturated?
Yes, I know I personally am. And you know, I've heard this said before, it's not really an information overload problem, it's more like a filter problem. And meaning, how do we use these in a filtered way to really get what we want. But then again, it's kind of like how we used to just put a tape in the tape recorder and press play and list music. And nowadays you have to sync your music and make playlists and turn on your computer and plug it in and recharge the battery and make a new playlist. And oh my gosh, I forgot a song. Imagine all the work and equipment you need just to play a song nowadays. You used to just press play. So the problem is, there's that book by Nir Eyal called Hooked. And he talks about the addiction of these social networks and how addiction is built into the product. And one of the concepts that he talks about is the unknown. This is why we keep going back to Twitter or even our email or Facebook to refresh, because there's this excitement. Oh, what's going to pop up next? Is someone going to send me a message? Is someone going to mention me? And you're sort of addicted to that unknown, expected potential surprise.
And we're probably a lonely society. We're totally connected and yet totally disconnected.
Yes, I think there's something
It's
to
an
that.
interesting thing. Like, I used to love Twitter, and I find Twitter now bothersome at best, only because the minute you have a lot of followers, you can't follow anybody. You can't. I've got, I don't know, 3,500. I've got maybe.
In my business, Facebook really serves a purpose because we have groups and discussions, and I harvest a lot of information for myself. Somebody will post a question in this closed group. How did you solve this technical problem? Or has anybody heard? I just got somebody offered me work, but I've never heard of him, and we can quick answer. And a lot of those things I just take note of, or if it's a technical problem that I don't have at the moment, possibly I down the road might have that problem. So I just kind of save that information. So for the artsy voiceover community, it's Facebook does serve a purpose. And then LinkedIn is the more serious. You can't fake your recommendations. They just go. So you tend to take LinkedIn just more seriously just because of that. But in the closed groups, in my area, Facebook is helpful.
Now, there was some news this week that Facebook is going to make everything available to everyone, like it or not. So,
oh my goodness,
I don't know how close some of these groups are. I don't think they're going to get rid of the private messages, but it sure sounded like a lot of it was going to be wide open, and that people are going, whoa, wait a minute.
Then that would defeat the purpose.
That would defeat the purpose and really actually probably jeopardize what people are trying to do privately in terms of, like you said, if you're looking for contracts or if somebody's looking for work or connections.
Yes.
You don't want everybody in the world seeing that. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm not sure.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't help anybody else. For us, since we work so isolated in our little studios throughout the United States, or abroad, I mean, really everywhere. It's really nice for communicating.
Yeah, I like it because it's the same reason. I have a lot of family that lives in other countries, and it's an easy way to talk to them. But other than that, I use it only because I have to. It's not one of those I love it.
We'll use it for pricing questions because we're all freelance.
True.
How would you price this job? There are so many different things, just like in your area of expertise, Bill, where so many different things come up and you pivot. You've probably pivoted quite a few times in your life. And with us, it's, way back, it was just television and radio where our voices were needed. And now, I mean, I've just been doing some very long, involved compliance trainings. I do a lot of, basically, the instruction manual.
And it's very similar in my business with technology professionals, because think of the pace of technology. As soon as you learn one, another one comes along.
Yes.
And you have to learn that. And if you don't learn that, you're out of a job. I mean, it's not quite that bad, but I mean, gosh, this stuff is moving so fast.
Yes.
And if you're not up on this new stuff, Node.js, Docker, Puppet, Chef, Atlassian, if you're not up on this, so where do you go now? You can go.
Where do you go? Yes, that's what I wanted.
What's that?
Where do you go? Where do you go to just stay on top of these things, all the different new technology?
Well, That's an interesting question, and it depends on the person. Because if you look at this technology adoption life cycle,
Yes.
some people are early adopters and some people are late adopters. So, and there's variations, but basically, you know, early adopters are the kind of person that's going to go on YouTube and find a video.
Yes.
How do you do this? How do you learn this? They go to these websites like Stack Overflow to find examples of code where they can try it and copy it and then reuse it and change it. And, oh, that's how it works. I understand. They like to tinker, right?
Yes.
They go out into the internet and start searching. And maybe they go to meetups and talk to people. I mean, they're doing this early. Now, people who are late adopters come along kicking and screaming, and they're the kinds of people, and of course we're generalizing, but the late adopters aren't interested until it's mainstream, and they'd rather just go to a formal training course, e-learning or live, whatever, that's offered by their company because they're adopting this new software, and I better learn it for my job, and it's part of my day, and the training happens during the workday. Whereas the early adopters will stay up all night on YouTube watching videos and tinkering on their computer so that they can learn it because that's what they like to do. So a lot of technology education, the formal education competes with YouTube because everyone puts stuff on YouTube. How do you do this? How do you do that? Someone's making a video somewhere. And how do you compete with that? Why would you make your own e-learning course when there's this open source celebrity making tutorials all night long on their technology? Because software companies want the market share or the mind share, and they and not all of them do, but they want people to come to us because especially open source companies, the software is free. They make money on the services, so they're selling the training. That's also part of it. So they have to do something with their education programs that are differentiated because they're competing with the internet.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, Bill. My wife, Leslie, decided to do some Apple coding for an iPad app that we did kind of as a joke, just to practice how to develop an app. And she went online and she started looking at YouTube videos, and these 8 and 12-year-olds, they're the ones teaching you how to do the coding.
Yeah.
And she goes,
Amazing.
Those kids were better than some of the advanced people who were teaching, who were much more boring. And these kids just got right to the point. Here's what you need to do. Oh, hold on. My mom's calling. Yeah, Mom. Okay. I'm back. And she goes, they're funny, but they give you good techniques. And I'm going, 8 and 12-year-olds. Wow. It's a different world in that respect. But they were teaching and literally competing with Apple to put out better training.
That's right.
Fascinating.
Wow.
It's really fascinating. In a way, that's good because it makes companies like Apple or whomever else up their game a little bit. We got to compete with Timmy over there. Timmy's really doing a good job on us.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
It's interesting. So where do you see the world of the LMS going?
I don't know. To be honest, it hasn't seemed like it's changed much.
No.
There isn't a lot of. I don't think there's a lot of innovation out there, to be honest with you. And I see the world a little differently because of the type of LMS we have. It's not. It's designed. It's more like e-commerce than it is putting people in groups and assigning certain courses to certain groups, so certain managers can make sure that certain people took certain courses, and the certain report can be sent to the right person, so we know that it was done. So it's a little bit, in terms of that side of the market, which we sort of call the HR side of the LMS market.
Right.
I mean, how many are there? 600 LMS vendors?
Are there that many?
Space? At least that many, I think.
Yeah.
I think there are fewer CRM vendors than there are LMS vendors.
Oh, I believe that.
Wow.
Yeah, and yet people are unbelievably dissatisfied with their LMSs. I mean, there's articles on this all over the place. The satisfaction rates are terrible. Whenever a new chief learning officer is hired, guess what they do? The first thing they do is replace the LMS.
That's true. I've seen that in quite a few companies. And sometimes the replacements are good, and sometimes, oh my gosh, here we go again. And I've always told people, the bigger LMSs aren't necessarily the better ones. In fact, I would venture to say many times you don't need to pay the millions of dollars to get an LMS, that sometimes the smaller ones do just as well and maybe even have better features and functionality.
I think where they need to go is to be designed more like natural websites.
Yeah.
Instead of, all LMSs seem to have this similar user interface.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not designed the way modern websites are. I mean, I go to Google, I type in a search, I find what I want, and I do it. And for some reason, LMSs are not designed that way. And, I'm not exactly an expert in the technology and framework of SCORM and why it's all designed that way, but SCORM seems to me to be holding it all back.
Right. It's just something that's supposed to make things work the same, interoperability, which doesn't work that well anyway, but the whole idea is interoperability, so no matter what LMS you have, it's going to work. The reality is it sort of works. It doesn't always work because when they designed the SCORM protocol, if you will, or they left a lot of room for flexibility, but that means one vendor, they write software with, let's say, a completion code of C, lowercase c. Another one comes in with uppercase C. Another one comes in with the word complete. Another one comes in with COMP, and they're all considered valid. But if your software is not coded correctly, you're dead. And I've been to some very large conversions where everything had to be repackaged, reconverted because the new LMS had a different code. Those are interesting gotchas.
On top of that aspect, Rick, that you were just mentioning, Bill, were you also talking about the user friendliness that possibly a learner can jump, that it's a website, that he or she is more in control of her or his learning experience, possibly skip over units and just meld it more to his or her needs? Was that also what you were touching on?
Yes, I am. On the other hand, I mean, some companies are just going to want to make the decision for their own reasons or for regulatory reasons that certain courses need prerequisites and you must go through every inch of it, even though you already know it, and it has to be tracked. Maybe all that stuff has to exist. And so, I'm not going to quibble about all that, but it's still, if you think about it, think about Facebook and how complicated Facebook can really be. If you really want to go into your settings and look at your privacy settings and create groups and send messages, it can be very complicated. And yet no one has a problem uploading pictures and uploading videos. You could do live videos on there. People use it all day long. No one ever took a training class on how to post a status update on Facebook.
Yes.
So why aren't LMSs designed in that kind of a way where it just works like a website? I search for things, I find things, I consume the content so that I can learn. Now it's a quiz, it's a video, it's a simulation, it's a whatever. Why can't they all be designed that way?
Yes.
And there's inertia, and you can't just rewrite all of your code. If you're Saba, you're invested in your code base. You can't just re-architect it like with a snap of a finger.
Bill, when you brought up Facebook and settings, and there's a lot of settings. There's a lot of ways you can tweak your Facebook. My 82-year-old mom, she gets on Facebook, follows everyone and anyone, has no idea who she's following. And then she gets pictures or notes from that person, says, "Don't you follow me? Don't you write me? I will call police." And I was like, "Oh, no, don't just, you're following people." "No, I'm not. They followed me." I go, no, you followed them. No. And she writes nasty notes. I go, "No, please, just get off Facebook." It's like, and it's just hilarious because, yes, she likes it because she can communicate with her nieces, but on the other hand, she thinks everybody who follows her, who she followed without even knowing it, is writing her notes she doesn't want, and she has no idea who they are, even though she pressed follow, or friend. She goes, "They're not my friends. Don't write you right. No, God damn you!" And it's like, oh gosh. So it's like Facebook nightmare. Yes, give it to some of these people. But it's like that with anything. If you go to your LMS settings, sometimes a lot of users go, "I have all these choices I can make," and then of course they start making incorrect choices, and they realize that's not what I wanted. And I love the filters. When some LMSs allow you to have filters, and now they can't find any of their courses because they filtered them out. So it's just sort of interesting.
That's the trade-off of high configurability.
That's right.
Increased complexity. That's for sure.
Simpler so there does have to be a balance.
Yeah, sometimes it's better. Well, Bill, so what's in store for you next? You've been doing pivoting. You're back in Palo Alto, which is a lovely place to be. What's next for you?
I do my role at Service Rocket. I do a lot of marketing on top of my customer education role, and so one of the things we did was create a podcast. So I'm a host of a podcast. It's called Helping Sales Radio.
Ah, cool.
And we're on episode 20, I believe. And the whole idea of this show, Rick, and it's funny that we get to talk about this, is that we're talking to people on the show about how selling or marketing or consulting can be done in a helpful way. And if it's done in a helpful way, rather than nickel and diming people or just trying to sell people or get the meeting, right? If there's a helpful approach that we can take with our customers, they'll probably buy more from us. They'll probably be more loyal. So all the marketing that we do is educational, and which is a beautiful thing. I think I want to become a marketer one day because I get to educate people on things and without doing a hard sell every 5 minutes. It's pretty good.
That's true. And good marketing, it's hard to find good marketing too. There's a lot of bad marketing out there. But marketing done right, like you said, is educational. It's informative. It's interesting, and it's engaging. It brings people in.
Now, more of a give and take. That's beautiful.
Yeah, rather than manipulative marketing, which you're being manipulated. There's sort of creating a need or desire for something nobody needs or wants, and it's very manipulative. That doesn't usually create a lot of return business. I mean, look, we're at Pet Rocks today.
Yeah, exactly. Now think about what an educator does, right? An educator figures out what problems exist with the person's knowledge level and then creates some education experience to help solve that problem, bring the skill up. That's what good marketing can do. So someone out there that needs to do or accomplish or solve some problem, and oh, by the way, here's a way to solve it, and oh, by the way, there's this product out there that can might help me solve it. But the first thing was identifying that person's problem and then helping that person solve that problem. Product or not, the product is beside the point. It's an oh, by the way moment. There's this product that can be found to do this thing. And so that's pretty good.
It's true. Well, it sounds like you're having fun.
I am having fun.
You should be having that much fun. I can tell when you're having fun.
I'm not allowed to have fun?
That's too much fun. I'm
on eLearnChat with you two. What could be more fun than that on a
that could be torturous to some people.
No, but I love that concept, Bill. I mean, it's a give and take, and I think developing that skill and honing in, like you say, what are the customers' needs? What are the clients' needs? And at one point, maybe by the way, there's this. But I mean, it's also it gives back to you.
To me, the marketer,
yes, to develop that skill even further. What are this clients' need? What are the customers' needs? And to have a podcast on that is brilliant.
Oh my gosh, we.
You need to develop a new name.
A new name.
Well, it shouldn't be called marketing. It should have something educational marketing, marketing, something like that.
And I'll tell you what, interviewing guests on the show in all these different areas and asking them how they take a helpful approach with customers is extraordinarily educational. It is amazing what people come up with, how people treat customers and how they even, how they want to, what the future of this customer helpfulness thing is. We just happen to call it helping sales. You guys know this. You interview smart people. Starting after this episode, but but I mean, it's awesome. It's so educational for me personally to get a chance to talk with these guests, and they're actually willing to say yes to be on the show. So it's so good. I get so much smarter doing that.
It is fun. It is a lot of fun, and you have a good personality for it. So I'm glad you're doing that.
I have a real face for radio, Rick.
Yeah, so don't we all? But anyway, guess what? We are at the end of our show, at the end of our time for this show. It goes fast. Yes. And Bill, as always, we'd love to have you. Yeah, well, and Bill, we'd love to have you back on and share some of what you're finding. I'd like to find out more about your company too, what you're working on, and more about maybe their LMS. Maybe give us a little bit of a, if you ever want to go through a demo of it, that'd be great. I'd love to see it. Service Rocket, right?
Yeah, Service Rocket, and the website is servicerocket.com. So if anyone wants to check that out, and I do a lot of writing on the blog, and I do a lot of webinar hosting. So if people want to check that out too, they can.
Well, you're
an
accomplished writer. You've also co-written a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, co-written a little book, and I like writing. So I do a little training on the side. Maybe I'll call myself a writer from now on.
Nice.
Yeah.
One sentence stood out to me on your LinkedIn profile. Bill thrives in build mode. And that seems to kind of be your tagline, so to say. I mean, it's fascinating how you just keep on keeping on reinventing, refining, and pulling in your different skills. I'm
certainly trying to never be stopped in one position. I like to try to, I want to be evolving every day. I sort of consciously try to do that. Whether I do it well or not, I don't know. But I certainly try to keep moving forward. Right?
Yes, I think that shows. Yeah.
And also keeps them from catching you.
That's right. What was that quote? Who said it? Rob Roy. Even if you're on the right track, if you're standing still, you're going to get run over.
That's true.
Yes.
Roy Rogers or Rob Roy.
Yeah, one of those. I remember that.
Said it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, Bill, it's always a pleasure having you on. Linda, welcome to the show. And
Thank you.
I have to look this way because it's actually backwards on my. I keep looking this way, but you're really here on the screen. It's the magic of mirrors.
Complicated.
But anyway, it's a pleasure having you on the show. And Bill, till next time, are you going to any trade shows like DevLearn or the TLDC show, the Training, Learning, and Development Conference in San Diego? Those are the ones coming up that I know of.
No, I am not. Since we don't target that audience,
okay,
we don't go to those kinds of shows. We go to technology conferences where the software companies
right.
are. That's where we go.
Well, that'll be fun too.
Yeah, those are fun.
I remember my old IT shows, and they were great. Well,
yes.
I've had a long career in IT before we did learning, 25 years almost.
Yes.
And I still miss it sometimes. I mean, it's a different world. It's just different. I like the learning part and the media, but I also like IT. My IT was fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And it's all about software nowadays, that's for sure.
It is. Well, anyway, thank both of you for being here, and we will see everyone next week. Please subscribe to the channel and give us your feedback. We'll know what you think. And, oh, by the way, Bill, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, maybe twitter.com/Bill Cush. So that's probably the easiest. And then you can, message me there. Otherwise, my website's billcushard.com.
Sounds great. So get a hold of him. He's a good guy. We will see you guys next week on eLearnChat. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Rick.
All right, thank you, guys.